Welcome to the Voice of the Coast. I am your host, Danica Long. With me, we have Diane Wiltz, and please forgive me, I'm so used to putting that handle on there, but Diane Wiltz, who wears so many hats. She is the, past director now of Fences. We'll be talking about that. It was a play held at Teche Theater in Franklin. Also, she is the president of Franklin's Merchant Association, as well as a board member with Teche Theater, as well as some other titles that you hold.
That's enough, though. Yes, that's enough for now.
For the
right?
purposes of this show, we'll talk about those things.
Okay.
Let's actually start off with what we talked about, Fences. It just wrapped up, and now we're moving forward. So tell us a little bit about Fences.
Well, Fences is one of August Wilson's shows. It's considered, or I should say grouped, in what he called the Pittsburgh Chronicle or the Pittsburgh Cycle, and that's 10 of his top shows. It was written in 1983, and it tells the story of Troy Maxon, who is very frustrated about life and angry, embittered. He's married to his wife, Rose, who he says is the best thing that ever happened to him, and but he's self-destructive. So Troy, all of the relationships that he has, because of, I'm going to say his attitude and a lot more, he kind of destroys those things and ultimately dies himself, destroys himself with that. You know, self-loathing and self-hatred can be killers, and they were with him. So it was a great show with a great cast. August Wilson wrote it quite well. I likened him, when we talked about doing this show, I likened him, and I still do, to Tennessee Williams, because both of those playwrights are playwrights that uses a lot of verbiage in their scripts to tell their stories. And then basically that's what a script is. A script is just another format to use to tell a story, unlike a novel or a short story, but it tells a story. And both of those gentlemen tend to be very wordy in their scripts, and so was August Wilson. You know all too well.
I was going to say,
yeah.
I know all too well because I'm a little partial, because I was actually featured as Rose, you mentioned in your commentary, and I was just blown away with the script itself.
Yeah.
And actually performing it. It puts you in a different mindset, I think, because you're not just watching it. I'm living it. I'm in this role. I'm actually eating, breathing, and sleeping Rose.
Oh yeah.
Because because Troy was played by my husband.
Yes, right.
So can you imagine the conversations, how that was at the house?
At the house, exactly right. And I know we talked about this off camera, and we questioned whether or not we were going to talk about it on camera, but I think it's a good time to say that because of the length of the show and because of the verbiage in the show, we sat and met as a cast and decided to reschedule it for April, and I'm so glad we did. I am so glad we did, because the show that we mounted and ran from, what was it, April 20th through the 23rd was excellent, and as you said, I'm being prejudicial too. Right. And I don't know in the short time span if we would have been able to do it in March, not because of capabilities, but because in volunteer theater, we're all volunteering, and we're trying to run our work schedules around volunteering to go over to the Teche to rehearse.
Right. I want to bring up somebody that
excuse me,
I believe sometimes is synonymous with this show, and that is Tyra. Tyra Yarber. Well, actually, I won't say the originator, but at Teche, obviously. Yes. He was the character Troy when you first mounted the show at the Teche Theater.
That's right. And it was directed by Allison Jones.
That's right.
And yes. Renita Nelson was in that show. Jules Anderson was in that show. Victor Lashley, Avaris Anderson, and McCluris. I can't think of McCluris's last name right now, but he was in the show. And
Manuel, I believe.
Manuel, okay. And then Jules Anderson's little niece played little Raynell. So they had a stellar cast as well. Yes. And with this being, as you know, since you're a member of the Teche Theater Board, with this being our 20th year anniversary, we were trying to choose shows that we had done in the past to celebrate our anniversary year. So for that reason, and for the reason to give a nod to the late, great Tyra Yarber, right, we chose to do August Wilson Fences, as you said, a show that he did at the Teche Theater and played the lead role. Yes. And I have we laugh and talk about Tyra's spirit, I don't want to call it ghost, still being at the Teche Theater. And I have no doubt that he was present and was very pleased. If anything, probably a little jealous that he wasn't there to do the part himself, you know.
And that's where I was going. I want to know, do you think that we would have made him proud? And I asked his mother, and she said, I believe so.
Oh, I know so. I know so. Tyra would have, he was a consummate performer, and I know that he would have been very proud of what Scala did with that particular character and the entire show.
Awesome. On that note, we're going to take a short break, but come on back. We've got much more to discuss. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. Again, I am your host, Danica Long. With me, we have Diane Wiltz, and we're still talking more Teche news. Let's get back to the Teche Theater and talk more about what's going on over there. I'm excited. Maybe, again, and because I'm a talk show host, I can probably get away with it. It's not necessarily, blurring the lines. I'm a little partial, but there are a couple of upcoming shows that I think the public would really be interested in.
Okay, so let's talk about those upcoming shows. For our summer musical, let's start there. It's going to be Matilda, another Broadway show. And I might add, and for people who follow us and come to us, they know those are the shows that we do. Yes, we've done original shows and original scripts, but for our summer show, for sure, we always do a Broadway show. Matilda has been running very well, truly, on Broadway. And so we got the rights to do it. We've held auditions, but we're holding auditions again tonight at 6 o'clock over at the Teche Theater. So if you have a young one or a middle-aged one or an old one, they need to come on out and audition for Matilda. As you know, Danica, again, you're talking about it's a commitment that you make to give up about 6 weeks of your life to that rehearsal. And we talked about how difficult it was to do a show such as August Wilson because of the verbiage. When you do a musical, you compound that with learning songs and maybe choreography.
Yes.
So it's quite a commitment to do. Carolyn Higdon will be directing that show, and Carolyn Higdon is a wonderful performer, great vocal coach. I don't know if anyone saw her. The last show she was in was Vanities on stage over at the Teche. That was last year's summer musical.
You're right. When you say it's a commitment, it really is, but it's fun.
It is.
It's a challenge. You push yourself, and now I can say I performed in Fences.
That's right. And the rewards are immeasurable.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as we challenge ourselves, the rewards on the end, and we talked about it being bittersweet, you're relieved and glad to get back to some type of normalcy, but you do long for the camaraderie that you built with your cast members.
Let's also move on to St. Mary's Got Talent. That actually was introduced a number of years ago, and of course we've had to put it on hold for a little while, COVID, and then of course it's back, so auditions for that as well. I just, when folks say there's not a lot to do, there's nothing to do, well, there are things to do. You just have to look for them. There's some gems in this, in our community. And while you're doing that, if you're on Facebook, make sure to follow Teche Theater for the Performing Arts on Facebook. So St. Mary's Got Talent, that is also going strong as well.
That's right. That was something that we mounted over at the Teche Theater several years ago, and it was an opportunity for us to see what type of talent. We always talk about there's a lot of talent out there, to see what type of talent is in the community. So anyone who lives in St. Mary Parish has an opportunity to come showcase his or her talent, whether you're a singer, a dancer, a musician, you do oral interp, whatever it is that you do, come and do it at the Teche Theater. Now, I might add that when that show mounts, there will be cash prizes that we will give away with that. So auditions for St. Mary's Got Talent will be tomorrow night, Tuesday, over at the Teche Theater, again, 6 p.m. And go out and have some fun, Once you're chosen to be in it or you want to be in it, they will want to know what is it you're performing. And so you'll have to show them, maybe not tomorrow night for auditions, but when they get ready to put that show on, you will have to show them what it is that you're going to do for the St. Mary's Got Talent event. And it's always fun.
Yeah.
And we do find some jewels.
That's right.
We have found some jewels with the St. Mary's Got Talent.
And again, it's challenging yourself. There's so many people I've run into say, I've always wanted to be on the stage. I'm either, I have the talent or I want to push myself. So Here's your
That's
opportunity.
exactly right.
to do
Here's the
so.
opportunity. Yep.
Yes, we're going to take another break, but come on back right here on the Voice of the Coast. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. Again, my guest, Diane Wilt, who is the one on the board of directors for Teche Theater for the Performing Arts, as well as the president of the Franklin Merchants Association. But we're going to continue with the Teche Theater because
Okay.
we'll be getting to the Franklin Merchants Association in just a moment. Silver Screen Classics. I was just sitting here during the break and saying, how long have we been doing this? It's been going on for a number of years.
I can't tell you how many years, Danica. You and I started that, and we were trying to think what year. I can't remember what year it was, but at least 5. I think it's more than that, but at least 5 years. I think we've been doing the Silver Screen Classic and again classics, and again it's been well received.
Let's talk about what it is for those folks who may not know.
For those who don't know, the Silver Screen Classics are old movies that we get a chance to show the elderly population. Well, I'm gonna say this. We started out, that was our initial objective, I think, to provide movies for the elderly population who say, oh, there's nothing good, and all the movies have violence and sex and satanic things, and we don't want to see that. So we thought, well, let's show them some old movies that they know, oh, and they loved it. But to our audience, when people say who can come to the Silver Screen Classic, we always tell them it's open to anybody,
That's
really.
right.
While our objective was the older population, it's now open to anyone. We show them at 2 o'clock on the 3rd Tuesday of the month, and we chose 2 o'clock again, thinking about our older population so that they could come while it was still daylight and go home.
Well, most people say, well, what about the children? You know, they want, well, typically during holidays or times when they're on vacation. We still run it. And we've had some grandparents bring their grandchildren. So, I mean, although I know 2 o'clock is not exactly the most ideal for all the public, but we do welcome retirees mostly. They're available during that time period. Or if you're out on school break, you know, come on through. It's free.
It's free. And the concessions we sell at a nominal cost. I mean, it's
and it's the best popcorn around.
Right. And then Danica and I get a chance to do our Siskel and Ebert, where we get to give a little background information on the film.
Good information.
And on the actors and actresses. So I think it's a wholesome a film event that we are hosting. But to the children, let me just say this. We've talked about it as a board, mentioned it, I think, and we may look at what can we do that would be geared more toward children. We wouldn't be able to do it monthly, but as you said, maybe a specific film, maybe during Halloween and maybe during Christmas, you know, when they're all just picking up a film that we could do for them.
And it's pretty much every third Tuesday of the month.
Yes.
And the next one will be?
May 16th, 2 o'clock, Teche Theater. Come there. Danica and I will be in the booth popping popcorn. And then we'll run to the front and do our Siskel and Ebert and then watch the movie and have a good time with it.
Now, of course, there are other shows. Let's get to the rest of those really quickly. What starts the season, what ends the season. We are typically dark January and February, but actually the summer show, Matilda, will be ending the season, but we'll pick up
in October. Generally, Jonas Buto, one of our board members, brought the idea of having a murder mystery. And I know I'm sounding repetitious and redundant, but again, well received. We sell out within 2 or 3 hours. I mean, you get a chance, the audience members who think they want to be on stage, but they're a little fearful, in a way you get a chance to be on stage because you come dressed in the period or the costume or the theme. And it's just a wonderful time. And then the audience has to figure out who killed or who, you know, it's a who done it.
Like a clue.
It's a clue. That's exactly right. And that'll be in October.
And then, of course, we have our Christmas
generally
showing.
in Christmas, during Christmas, because, again, of volunteer theater and because we're running ragged trying to do our shows and everything, we have done a Christmas gala. And we get a chance there to show off some of the talent that we have with singers. We've had Mayor Rodney Grogan, who has a beautiful voice, Carolyn Higdon, oh Lord, just a lot of people that we've had on stage. We've also done a Christmas Carol, Charles Dickens there. Well, this year we're thinking about another show. I'm going to be a little tight-lipped on that because we want to see if we can pull that one off. But if we pull it off, it's definitely going to be a show that you want to see. It's running on Broadway right now, and the young lady that we're thinking about casting in the lead role will be dynamic. So, yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Well, we are going to get to one more thing. Oh, well, actually, we can't. Let's save that when we come back, and we'll talk more about Franklin Merchants Association.
Sounds good.
All right, come on back right here on the Voice of the Coast. Welcome back to the Voice of the Coast. We're going to end this segment and we're going to talk about Franklin Merchants Association. You guys are busy and there's like always something going on downtown Morgan City, downtown Franklin, excuse
Well,
me,
I
on Main
appreciate
Street.
that. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. We are trying to be part of the mayor's revitalization in downtown Franklin. Downtown Franklin has had a facelift. It looks good with the planters, the stores that are opening, and the businesses. Looking back just briefly, we just held our second, and I can say annual now, dinner under the lamppost. Last year we had held our inaugural dinner under the lamppost, and it was on the street. It was just what it was. We turned downtown Main Street into an elegant dining hall, set up tables, white tablecloths, waiters, waitresses, and it was beautiful. And it ended with a sparkle show through the pocket park, so it was great. Planned the same thing for this year, and Mother Nature decided to say, I don't think so. So we had you have to have a backup plan. And our contingency plan was to have it under roof. So we had it, instead of it being dinner under the lamppost, it was dinner in the lamppost reception facility, well attended, and it was a wonderful event. The entertainment was provided by J.B. Sachs, and if any of you have ever heard him play that saxophone, he's just outstanding. We gave away our first Lifetime Achievement Award for a local entrepreneur, and that's Al Coleman. I think, if not everyone, most people know Al Coleman, owner and manager of the Forest Restaurant, and also the Best Western Hotel, a motel in Franklin. So he's been in business now for over 60 years. We gave him the first Lifetime Achievement Award. We're going to add that each year to our dinner under the lamppost. And the meal was catered by Mr. Lester's Steakhouse, Chef Willie Gaspard, and Ryan Fitch, I think was his name. We had those two guys, and the meal was very, very good, very delicious. Wait staff, we want to thank Beckett Louvier. We had waiters and waitresses who volunteered to serve us, and they were bedecked in their white shirts and little bow ties, and it was great. It was great. So good that as we talk about with shows about a reprisal, well, as I said, this will be an annual event, but people now want to make their reservations for the dinner under the lamppost, and as I said, it is an annual event. It's always going to be the third Saturday in April. The funds from that, and let me mention that, because the tickets are a little pricey, but the funds from that help the Main Street merchants to put on a lot of the events that they put on in Franklin throughout the year. So.
Which the next thing we'll talk about are what are some of those events. And of course, coming up in May, you have at least 3 events that are going to be culminating all together within 1 to 2 days of each other.
That's right. We're going to have a kickoff party on May 5th. And it's going to be at the Lamplighter Coffee House with a kind of a Cinco de Mayo twist to it, but it'll be a kickoff party to that Saturday, May 6th, which will be our last Bayou to Maine for this season, because we do 6 a year. So it will be the last Bayou to Maine marketplace, and that's where vendors come out to share their wares and sell them on the sidewalk. It will also be the kickoff to the Bear Festival. The Bear Festival has been down for a while because of COVID. Edgar Dugas has done a wonderful job in keeping that festival up and going. So he has pulled together a committee that's anxiously working with him to get it going this year, and it will be on that day, May 6th. It starts, I think, at 12 noon and goes into the night.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we also have the Main Street Merchants also have their Art Walk Champagne Stroll, I think is what it's
Oh,
called.
nice.
And last year, one year, you can remember Danica and I were sitting in our hats because you get a chance to wear your hat, and we tie it to the Kentucky Derby. Now, anybody who goes to the Kentucky Derby, particularly ladies, they know that the hats, it's all about the hats.
Oh,
Really,
yes.
it's a fashion
The
show.
bigger, the better. The more outlandish, the better. Yes.
That's right. And the Kentucky Derby in America has become a big thing. 2 minutes, but it's just a huge event.
Yes.
Each store will get to pick a horse. If you shop at that store on that day and your horse wins, then your name will go into a drawing with other people and you'll win a prize.
I love it. Sounds like there's always something to do. So
Yes.
again, if I hear anybody say there's something to do, well, make sure to rewatch this show and share it with someone else. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And thank you. Make sure to subscribe to us on Facebook. We are KWBJ TV 22. We'll see you next time.